Thanks, Linda. I'd like to welcome everybody to Growing Concerns for June 19th. For today's webinar, we're going to go through just a number of things, I guess, that have been happening throughout the area in the past week, and talk about some of the issues that have come up because of them. We're going to go through a crops update like normal, and have some issues regarding some spraying issues to talk about. And an insect update, and the insect update will take a good portion of the webinar today. So I guess with that, we'll get going here. And I guess to start off, maybe just with a little bit of a crops update. I guess in most areas, producers have completed seeding now. There is, I think, a couple areas to the extreme south of Cirrus here into that south of Deloraine, through that area, that have been getting a large amount of rainfall, and they're still going and getting the crop in. But the last few days of warm weather here, and things are drying out, so I'm thinking they'll be wrapping things up, by the end of this week, that's for sure. Spraying of a lot of the early seeded crops is nearing completion. We have a lot of pretty good week last week and this week for spraying, and a lot of producers were able to catch up on weed control, so that's a good thing. We're able to get out, and some of the fields we were falling behind a little bit, and some of the weeds, especially in areas where we didn't get a good burn off, some of the weeds were getting fairly big already, so we were running into some problems with product selection for control, but a lot of those fields have now been sprayed, and we're starting to see a lot of those weeds starting to brown off and die back. So that's going to be good for the crop as we get some good growing days over the next few days here. It's going to be good to see those crops jumping. Several producers have been spraying canola now, and a lot of them are applying an insecticide with them for flea beetles. Flea beetles have been an issue. We've talked about it last webinar and the webinar before that, and I think the message is out there, and a lot of producers have been spraying for them, and we're starting to see canola now get a lot bigger and get its second and third true leaf already, and starting to fill in. So I think we're getting to the point now where flea beetles are not going to be able to keep up with the growing crops. So I think we're going to be okay now. So crops that have made it through this area, this time period, and have maybe been sprayed once. We had some producers spraying twice for flea beetles, but I think we've gotten past that stage now, and we're going to see a lot of the canola jump now, and the flea beetles just not be able to eat enough of the plant to do it any major damage, because it'll be growing so fast. So that's a good thing. Do caution producers that have some late seeded canola, though, to keep an eye on it. Even though there should be some insecticide on the canola, the pressures have gotten fairly high, and with that we could see a lot of pressure on cotyledon stuff that would be just coming through the ground. So late seeded canola, still keep an eye on. The canola that was sown early probably is gone and away now. So soybean crops, been out in quite a few soybean crops. It's going to be I think something that is pretty common now in the area. There's a lot of soybeans being grown here, and I guess because of that, we'll probably be talking about soybeans throughout the summer on the webinars. Most of it is in the unifoliate stage, which is a little bit early for spraying. But today we'll be talking about staging of the of soybeans as we get into the webinar here. So we'll address that. Still having some issues with seeding problems showing up with producers. A lot of it is a combination of events that occurred. And most of them seem to start with deep seeding, and you just seems like it's an every year occurrence where we get the field one or two fields that we make a mistake on, and just get we think it's maybe a little bit harder, or don't check our depth, and maybe the field is softer from the previous field, and we land up putting the seed a little bit too deep. And a lot of times the seed would make it and it wouldn't be an issue, but if you combine that with insect pressure or a heavy rainfall and crusting, and then we get problems with that seed breaking through the soil surface and forming a crop. So between wireworm issues on cereal crops and now we've got some cutworm issues as well as seeding deep. We are definitely running into issues over the past week where we've been in fields where some of the fields are going to be borderline if they made it. And actually, I've been in one field that was written off, and then I've heard of a couple other fields that have been written off this year from crop insurance because of insect pressure. So I guess it seems like the big or the common thing with all these fields that I've been in is it starts off with that too deep seeding, and that puts pressure on germination, and then if you get any event that happens after that, it just seems to make it look a lot worse. So always remember to be not getting that seed in the ground too deep. This is kind of a weekly thing we've been putting on the webinars, and this is kind of what's happened since June 10th to the 16th. And this is basically our rainfall and our growing degree heat units, and so in temperature. But I like to keep track of our growing degree days, and it seems to be something that it's getting to be more and more important as we're growing more corn and more soybeans in the area. And when you look at, say, the Cirrus area, we're just about right on par. You get into Brandon, same thing, and when you go down the whole chart, actually, we're pretty close to being right at our normal, anywhere from 5 to 10% below our normal right now. But I could see with the next few days, if we do get some of the heat that they're talking about, especially even today, that's going to definitely help us out. And we'll see a lot of those crops that are more sensitive to the heat are going to start jumping really fast. I guess another good thing that has happened over the past week, and I guess it depends on where you are, but there was some areas that were definitely a little bit lower on rainfall amounts for the year. And you see some of these guys have been getting some rain, and definitely has helped those areas. You can see the Bertle area has definitely jumped a bit. The Minnedosa area is still a little bit on the lower side, as well as the Russell area, but they are forecasting some rainfall again this weekend, so hopefully those areas might get a little bit more to bring them up. But the rainfalls that they've been getting have been timely, and the crops still seem to be coming on okay. Here's our picture of the winter wheat field in the Shoal Lake area, and it's again a weekly thing that we're doing, just trying to follow that field right through to the end of the year here, and just to see how it progressed. I guess we all know that winter wheat has been an issue this year with a lot of fields being written off because of winter kill and winter injury. Well, this field has definitely come on a lot better than we first thought it was going to come on from early spring. So this was the picture of what it looked like last year, or last week, and excuse me, and this is what it looks like this week. So Elmer's been sending pictures as the year goes on. You can see it's starting to fill in the rows and turning into a decent crop. However, last year about this time, a lot of the winter wheat was pretty much starting to heading out at this time period. So we definitely noticed that we're going to be at least 2+ weeks behind where we were last year in the winter wheat crop, which is significant when you consider that it was a crop that we'd hopefully be harvesting in the beginning of August, and we're probably going to be pushing that later than that now. So one of the things I have noticed over the past week is that fall rye is starting to head out in most areas. So it has come on a little bit faster or stronger than the winter wheat, but fall rye tends to be a more vigorous crop and could handle winters a lot better, so we could see where it was able to develop and get going quicker in the spring than the winter wheat crop, and just be heading out faster. So we're probably, I would say 2 weeks away from seeing a lot of heads in the winter wheat. So that's probably about how far we're behind right about now. When you get looking a lot closer at the winter wheat too, we're definitely seeing disease in the winter wheat, and conditions have been fairly favorable with the moist conditions out there. So I guess as we get closer to heading, I think a lot of producers are going to be applying a fungicide on the winter wheat, which is pretty common. So just I guess something to keep an eye on. Again, the winter wheat has got some disease, especially in the lower leaves. So just we don't have a lot of winter wheat crop left out there this year, but the producers that did keep it, I guess just heads up for them as to keep an eye on it and be timing your spraying application. I mentioned earlier on that we were going to talk about soybeans a bit today as well, and just to I guess because it's kind of a learning process for a lot of people in the Southwest, figured just kind of keep talking about them every week, a little bit of an update as to how they're doing. And this was a picture of soybeans that was on our last week's webinar, and I took this picture yesterday or day before yesterday in just around the service area here, and just wanted to kind of go through the staging of the soybean, and as we're getting more and more questions regarding spraying. And so this one right here is in the unifoliate stage, just as these ones here. And so when you look at weed control, most of the soybeans that are being grown are glyphosate tolerant, and glyphosate is registered up to after the first trifoliate stage. So this would just be a little bit early for spraying. You can see the first trifoliate is coming out on this one, and when we look at the next slide here, you can see the different stages. So we're just a little bit early for spraying. I know some producers have gone out and sprayed, and it looks like things are looking okay. There don't seem to be too much damage crop-wise, but I guess we got to kind of look at the weed control issue too. If the weeds are bad and they're starting to affect your crop, that's where the decision for spraying needs to be made. Elmer sent this picture to me this week, and when you get looking around, the guys that have grown peas this year, the pea crop looks to be coming on pretty good right now and developing really well. And Elmer was out and he dug up some plants, and you can see the nodules forming on the root systems, nice pink color to them, and showing that they're nice and healthy. And there's lots of them on there, so that's good for the pea plant. So right now we could be seeing the peas definitely jumping and forming a really good crop. Usually about this time of year you get producers talking about disease in peas as well, and one of the things you got to remember if you're going to be going out to spray your peas for diseases like mycosporella, you want to be able to get good coverage right to the bottom of your plant. So depending on when your crop was growing or planted, I have seen some fields where the peas are almost starting to fill in already. So just remember that you want to make sure that you're going to get coverage to the bottom of those plants. So if you wait too long to go out there with your fungicide, you can run into issues with not getting that good coverage to the bottom. So again, be out there watching your fields, staging them, and making sure your application of a fungicide is going to be timely. I mentioned at the start that we were going to talk a little bit about spraying issues, and really so far spraying has been fairly good. We haven't had too many issues besides the fact of trying to pick products to use because of different size of weeds out there. A lot of producers did get caught without doing a burn off this year, and because of that, we have some weeds that are definitely bigger and needing to use a different product, or a product that is a little bit harder on them, on some of the weeds to get control of them. And usually what happens when you see that, you do see some crop tolerance issues in some cases. So we are seeing, the crop being affected by those products. But overall, the growing conditions have been good, so the crop was growing through them fairly fast. Have started to get some issues regarding spray drift, and so again, just a caution out there to the producers and the custom app guys that wind conditions can carry product fairly far, and this is a wheat field that's been hit by Roundup this spring, and you can see how it drifted in and fingered into the field. And in a lot of cases, the real noticeable stuff is the one that's dying off, but really you don't know how far it's gone into the field and affected the crop. Basically, these areas here are probably going to die off, but when you look at these areas through here, you don't know how far it's actually starting to affect some plants. And just out of a side note to that, I was in a field probably the beginning of the week here, I guess, and the producer was concerned that he might have some wireworm issues, so he was finding some plants that were kind of dying off. The root was still attached to the plant, so and he was just concerned he was seeing some wireworm issues. We went out to the field and we got looking around, and he was doing a burn off and early in the spring after the crop was sown, and by the time he got about halfway across the field, the custom app guy noticed that there was some wheat starting to poke through the ground, so he quit. And basically, there's a line across the field wherever the Roundup was sprayed for the burn off to where he quit. So the effects of Roundup when you're doing a burn off in the spring, you definitely have to be careful. Even that wheat that was just poking through the ground seems to be stunted, and anything that was through the ground and it opened up and picked up enough Roundup died. But there's a line in the field where you definitely stunted the crop because of the Roundup. So again, just timing wise and scouting to make sure things aren't up is something you need to be watching for. An issue that's come up this week that is kind of covering a fairly large area. We're getting calls from pretty much all of the southwest region, and cutworms are starting to become an issue in some fields, and more noticeable in some than others. And this is a picture taken in a canola field, and you can see where the cutworm has clipped off the canola plant, and then during doing some feeding and doing some damage to this field as well. I guess the thing the question we've been getting is, is it cutworm damage? Is it what kind of, is it flea beetle damage? We're just seeing dead canola plants, or we're seeing no canola plants in a lot of places. So when you get out to the field, I guess when you are looking for cutworms, the thing to do is look at the plants that are still there. If there's plants that have notches taken out of them, they look wilted. If you're seeing dead plants just kind of lying on the soil surface, that's a pretty good sign that you got cutworms. Dig around those plants, and you'll probably find the cutworms. They'll be in the just below the soil surface, down anywhere from 2 to 2 inches range, sort of thing. I know when I was out in this field, they were fairly easy to find. They tend to curl up once you get them out onto the soil above the ground, and especially during the day. So I guess be out there looking for there. And I guess the key thing for cutworms is they're usually going to be cutting plants off right around the soil surface. and that's kind of a giveaway as to how they're doing their feeding. There's just another picture of some of the ones that were found in the field. This field was actually written off the other day through crop insurance because of the severe damage out in the field. There are several products that are available to control cutworms in the canola and are in your crop. And I guess I would just say to check the field crop protection guide to select which product you want to use. I know a lot of producers that have been spraying have been seeing some pretty good results. I've gotten a couple pictures from guys for the day after spraying, and definitely seeing dead cutworms on the ground. So I guess first assess your situation, determine if you need to spray, and if you need to spray, then select the product you want to use. Elmer sent this picture in, and it was a picture of wheat field, and he was out scouting it and found there was no cutworms found in the field at all. He was digging around, so he was wondering if it could be some maybe some wireworm issues. So he put some bait balls out in this field to see if we can find them. Wireworm damage is often confused with cutworm damage, and I guess the thing to look for with wireworm damage is in most cases the plant is wilted and discolored, but the root and the above ground part of the plant still remain attached. And with cutworms, a lot of cases, or most of the cases, the plants are usually cut off at the ground level. So there's a pretty easy way to distinguish between the two. A lot of times when you get out there, though, or out to assess the field, there's a lot, you're in a situation like this one where a lot of the plants have already been died off or are missing. And that was kind of the same situation with that canola field. The plants that were there seemed healthy and okay, but then when you got digging around, you could find the cutworms. You know, and in this case where Elmer couldn't find the cutworms, it sure makes you wonder if it maybe was some wireworm damage. So this is what a bait ball is. Basically what you do is you mix together some oatmeal, honey, and water to create a baseball-sized bait ball. And then with a shovel dig a 2-inch hole and place the bait ball in the hole. Pour some water on the ball and then cover it with dirt. And if you come back in about a week's time, the wireworms are attracted to the CO2 that the bait ball gives off, and they'll be around or in the bait ball. And put a stake up there like Elmer has, so you can know where you buried it, because otherwise you could be spending a few days out there trying to find it. But it works fairly well, and you'll definitely be able to answer the question if wireworms were part of the issue for the field. I mentioned this earlier on too, though. You know, in a lot of these situations, for it to be as severe as this in a field, you know, wireworms in severe situations can make a field look like this, but yeah, a lot of times there's more than one issue out there, and so again, the seeding depth a lot of time might be a factor where you've got, you know, a weaker plant growing, and then if the wireworm comes in and starts feeding on it, you lose the plant loses its vigor and dies off. A lot of times the plant can, once it gets above the soil surface and gets growing, a lot of times it can handle, you know, it gets a good root system developed, it can handle some feeding by the wireworm and still keep going. But if you've got another issue out there, you know, even dry conditions where you got slow, you know, poor growth and stuff like that, you know, basically what happens, it's the wireworms what damage they do cause the plant to die off. But you know, in a lot of cases, the situations would not look this bad. Usually, there's a secondary issue that's helping the field or making the field look that bad. So just a little bit about wireworms. You know, slender, maybe about 1/2 to 1.5 inches long. They move very fast when you disturb them, and they try to bury themselves back in the soil. They don't come above ground to feed, so they're feeding below ground. You can see by the picture below as to how they can feed on the young stems. But you notice on these stems, like the feeding they're doing, there wasn't enough to kill the plant off. The plant's got a good root system. They'll thin the stand out in a lot of cases, but in a lot of cases they won't kill the plant off. So if you get a good good development of your plant, you can handle some of the stresses put on by wireworms. If the populations are high enough, though, you definitely can notice some problems. And we got a field here in the Cirrus area that is high levels of wireworms in it. I guess if you do have someone that has a wireworm issue, I guess the best thing to do to try to get control of them would be, whenever you're planting a cereal crop in those fields, is to make sure you're treating the seed so you can get some control of them. I guess keeping on with the whole insect thing. Last couple of years, we've had some alfalfa weevil issues in alfalfa, and we've been out. Jane Thornton's been doing some work this year, where she's been out checking fields, alfalfa fields, this spring to see if the weevil's around and if we should be concerned with it. She was out yesterday, and these are some of the things she was finding. These are the adults that she was finding, and this would be in a field in the Rossburn area. So again, the alfalfa weevil is around and starting to become active. The more damaging part of the insect is the larvae. And if you note, the larvae's got a blackish type head on them, but the larvae are the ones that do the majority of the feeding on the plant. And these ones here are starting to do some feeding. There isn't a whole bunch of feeding happening yet, but you can definitely see some holes in the leaves, and so they are starting to feed. I took this picture last year, and there's I guess the larvae as it gets a little bit bigger, and you can see as they start feeding, they basically skim a lot of the leaves, and makes it look like almost like a skeleton type plant out in the field. And what they'll do is they get up onto the buds, and they'll stop the alfalfa from flowering. And I guess if not noticed early enough, the best thing to do would be to get out there and cut early if you see them out there. Yeah, we're in a situation now with the alfalfa and the hay crop where we're in some areas where we're getting close to taking first cut already. The eastern side of the province has started already, and I would imagine some of the guys that are looking at selling hay in the western side of the province here are going to be looking at starting fairly soon as well. Most of the beef guys are looking at it, and we don't have a lot of growth right now. I think the spring frost seemed to set our alfalfa back a little bit, and we're getting some of the grasses starting to head now, and we're looking at 16 inches to 2 feet tall plants. And I guess the concern there is we're not going to have a great first cut. So going into spring, we were definitely in a feed shortage situation. Not saying that we're going to be in one, but the outlook right now for a first cut, at least in this area, is probably average to below average yields in our first cut alfalfa crops. Well, I was out in the fields. We see this guy every year, so I grabbed a couple pictures of him. This is the red velvet mite. It feeds on insect eggs, so it's a it's actually a beneficial bug to have out in the field. Usually it starts its life out on grasshoppers, and then they become adults and start feeding on eggs in the soil. So good bug to have around. We're seeing a few of them in the fields, and we usually get calls every year regarding some type of orange type bug in the field. So that's what that guy is. I'm going to talk a little bit about diseases now as we're getting into a lot of the spraying. Weed spraying is, in a lot of areas is kind of getting close to wrapping up. I'm telling producers when they're out in the field they should be scouting for everything. I think it's it's that kind of that time where we should be watching and seeing what's going on in the fields. Every year we get a lot of calls regarding sclerotinia and should I or should I not spray for sclerotinia in my canola, and then we start getting a lot of calls. Well, I was out in the field and I'm seeing a whole bunch of mushrooms, so the chances of sclerotinia are going to be high. And I always like to put this slide or a slide similar to this out just so guys, when you're out there looking, you know what the mushrooms look like that are produced by the sclerotia bodies that cause sclerotinia in your canola. And these mushrooms, well, by the pictures you can see, these mushrooms are small mushrooms. They are, take a look at the side. There's two of them right there. So definitely they're not the big cap mushrooms that you would see in wet conditions in your field. They are very hard to see. You almost need to train your eye to look for them. And but one distinguishing characteristic you can see is they're kind of like a funnel type shape instead of a cap shape that most mushrooms are. So and what happens is they disperse the spores and they go flying up, and then they land on your flowers, petals of your canola plant. So if you're out there looking and you're seeing a bunch of mushrooms, I guess just be aware that we do get a lot of mushrooms growing under wet conditions, and some of our areas are fairly wet right now, so we're probably going to see a lot of mushrooms growing. So just a reminder as to what the mushrooms look like that are produced by the sclerotia bodies. Okay. Weed of the week. The weed of the week this week I picked was going to be cockleburr, and cockleburr is an annual. It grows anywhere from 3 to 6 feet tall. Seedling plants have very rough leaves that are notched on the margins and tapered to a point. The stem is usually fairly straight, branched, and rigid and rough. A distinguishing characteristic of this one is the stem is got a purplish, kind of a purplish green with noticeable purple and black spots over it. It'll flower from July to September, and it produces burrs that create a lot of issues with livestock and or yourself as you're walking through fields checking stuff. So just a look at the seedling here. You've got your distinguishable cotyledons. These ones kind of give it away too, but if you look at the leaf, you got the notches in the leaf margins, and you can definitely make out the veins in the leaf, and they taper to a point. So kind of three distinguishing characteristics right there. When you look at the stems, that's the kind of the purplish spots or the black spots on the stem. So again, kind of a dead giveaway as the plant matures and gets a little bit older. Here's the burrs and flowering parts of the plant, so you can definitely see the burrs, and then again a close-up of the burrs and how it would attach to anything from animals to your clothing. It's fairly common in cultivated fields, abandoned land, run-down pastures, and roadsides, and we definitely see it in a lot of run-down pastures or abandoned farmyards. Seedlings usually emerge in May or June once the soil temperature warms up. Seed generally do not survive for more than 5 years, so that's a good thing. So if you get them in your cultivated fields and you can control them. Seed production is dependent on the size of the plant. If you get a large plant, you'll get more developing burrs, and then you get more seed development. Bad thing about it is it's can tolerate flooding and saline conditions. So basically areas where you don't have a lot of crop competition, they can develop, and so that's a good way to, I guess, an area where you need to keep on top of to keep control of them. And flowering is triggered by day length, so basically it begins to flower in that mid-August time period. And I guess with that, I've kind of covered a lot of things that I wanted to cover today. For everything from some of the insect issues, and I think the insect issues were probably the major ones I wanted to cover. We were getting lots of calls this past week regarding cutworms and wireworm issues. So I guess with that, Linda, is there any questions?
Yes, Lionel, I have a couple of questions here. The first one is, can RR2 soybeans be sprayed as soon as they crack through the ground, or should we wait? Are they different than the older Roundup Ready varieties?
That's a good question, and I guess the big thing there is it comes down to, in my opinion, your weed population. If you can hold off, it's better to hold off to the trifoliate stage and spray them then. If you're in a situation where you have lots of weed issues, I definitely wouldn't be spraying them until after you definitely have the unifoliate stage out there. Just cracking through the ground, I would probably say no. And you should probably be holding off if you can to the trifoliate stage.
Thanks, Lionel. Is there any benefit to spray fungicide for blackleg with herbicide spray at the 2 to 3 leaf stage of canola?
That's a good question too, and we discussed a bit about that last week. I think the big thing with the blackleg in canola is it comes down to probably more of a rotation thing than anything. And if you're growing canola on canola, or if you're growing canola, wheat canola, you're definitely pushing your rotation so that your potential for blackleg to be in the field is there. I was at a tour that the Canola Council put on, and the Morden Research Station put it on as well on I guess a week ago, and we were out in field trying to scout and find blackleg in canola, and there must have been 80 to 100 people out there, and we weren't able to find any blackleg in the canola at that stage. So is it advisable to be planting or putting a fungicide? In my opinion, you probably could get away without doing it. There has been, I don't know if there's been a whole bunch of research that has showed definite yield increase because of it. Blackleg, though, has been one of our major diseases showing up in the past, 4 or 5, or last 2 years, anyways, in our disease survey. So blackleg is definitely on the rise in the Southwest or in Manitoba, and so I guess if you have the extra money and you want to spend it to control, you're getting 7 to 12 days of control with that. So is that going to be money well spent? It's a tough call. In my opinion, I don't see a lot of benefit from it because canola is growing so fast that you're probably gonna, you're not going to see a real benefit to that. I guess the other thing is with canola, rotation again is something that is critical. The other thing is a lot of the canola varieties that are out there are rated R for resistance, and we have several different strains of blackleg out there, so they may be resistant to some, but they're probably not resistant to them all. So again, it's your call. Condition-wise, you know, if we get dry conditions, it's probably not going to spread as fast. If we get wet conditions, it could. Right now, it's kind of like putting tilt in or fungicide in with your wheat to control leaf disease at this stage. You know, you get a week or so of a good feeling that the crop is going to be okay, and then after that, you're no farther ahead than the rest of the guys.
Okay, Lionel, that's all the questions I have at this time. So.
Okay, I guess just a reminder that regarding the CCA credits, if you are viewing the webinar later on and you are wanting to get credits for CCA, we just require you to write a short little blurb as to what the webinar was about and email it to us. And the email addresses are for Linda is there, and that would be the best person to email it to. And there's mine and Linda's contact information. And then again, the contact information for the FPAs in the Southwest and the South Parkland. And I guess with that, we are done for today. And I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and we'll see you next week.